Okay, so let's take a look at the Ross homework for Chapter 18, and we'll start with Section A, then we'll look at Section B here. So this is my answer key here, and I'll pull up the actual Ross page from the textbook and give you an opportunity to voice any questions you have as well. So, who has a question? So number one?
Yes. In the preterite form, there is a dagesh in the bait, but I can't figure out where it came from.
Okay. Yeah, let's take a look here. So on my answer key.
Yeah.
All right. So let's pull that up here. So it's right there. We've got a dagesh here. That is a dagesh what? Forte or a lene? It's lene. So take a look. I've got a shava here. When I look to the right to decide whether it's silent or vocal, I've got a kyric, which is short. So if the vowel is short, the shava is silent, right? At least under normal circumstances. And if it's silent, then this consonant is immediately followed by another consonant without any vowel sound or vocal noise. And since a beit is a begat kafat consonant, it always has a dagesh lene unless a vowel or a vocal shava blows it away. So that's what it is. It's not a dagesh forte, it is a dagesh lene.
All right, that makes sense.
Okay, yep, you're very welcome. All right.
Okay. So
Number 5, over here for the CalPerfect. Let me pull up the Hebrew or the Ross homework. Okay. He cut.
So it's just basically just the root word that we have in the CalPerfect karat. And then assume that it is already without suffix, that it is 3ms.
That's right. Yes. So you learn karat as your lexical form, and it's the perfect 3ms form as well. So yes, so karat is he cut. So that is one way to write a Hebrew verb with past time semantics, is using the perfect. Okay? And then the second way is to use the preterite plus vav consecutive, or what I've referred to as the WCIs, or the Vayiktal form. And so we need to use a prefix conjugation form for the next one. Now, what would it be? I'm going to use my 3 root letters from karat, but here I have to use a prefix for he, which is which prefix consonant? It's the yod, right? So the typical vowel pointing is yik, rot, with a holum, but now I have to add the special pointing of the vav for this WCI or Vayiktal form, which is always vav, pathak, and then doubling dot in the nutty prefix consonant, right? My nutty prefixes are nun, tav, yod, aleph, right? So if I have a nun, tav, yod, and aleph, that's going to get the doubling dot with that special vav. Otherwise, what's always going to be under the vav? What's my typical vowel pointing for the vav? It's a vocal shava, right? Vavs are normally pointed with a vocal shava. When I see a pathak under the vav, I need to be thinking, whoa, that's probably a past time WCI Vayiktal form. I need to always translate it as past. Okay, so karat and vayikrot both mean he cut. Yeah, Yvonne?
I'm sorry, sir, on number 7.
So number 7? Yeah, let's take a look at that one. So it's the verb I kept. So what is the verb for keep? What are the root letters? To keep or guard? Shamar. Shamar. So I'm going to use those 3 root letters. And in the CalPerfect 3ms, the basic form, it's shamar with the long A, short A. Kametz pathak, right? But which person gender number is I? Because shamar by itself is just he cut. But I want I here. So which person gender number is that? Yes, 1CS. And in the CalPerfect 1CS, what's my ending going to be? T. So I want to add T. And I'm supposed to get a Dagesh what here in the Tav? It's a Dagesh Lene because I'm going to be putting a a silent Shavah here under the Resh. Shamar T. There's no vocal noise here. Shamar T. So that needs its Dagesh Lene. There's no vowel before it. Where's my accent mark? Shamarti. No. In the normal Cal Perfect, it tries to stay on root 2 unless something makes it go to the back. What makes it go to the back? What makes the stress go to the end? Vocalic endings and heavy consonantal endings, tem and ten, pull the stress to the end. Otherwise, it stays on root number 2. Shamarti. Shamarti. So that's I kept. That's one way to do it. That's the Cal Perfect 1CS. But now I want to do the Cal WCI 1CS. What's that? Well, I'm going to use what looks like prefix conjugation forms. So I could start with my basic form in my paradigm, which is always the 3MS form, right? What would that look like? With Shamar, it would be Yishmor. Okay, that would be the Cal Imperfect 3MS, Yishmor. If I wanted to make that a WCI form, it would be Va Yishmor, right? But I want to, that's the 3MS form. I want to make it 1CS. So what do I have to replace the yod with here to make it first common singular? What's the prefix for first common singular? Which nutty prefix is I? It's Aleph, right? So I want to put an Aleph here instead. Now here's my question. Two things. Will I see the Keurig under the Aleph? No. What will the Aleph get? What does it prefer? Segol. So it's going to be that. Can I put my doubling dot back in the Aleph? I cannot. No doubling dots here, right? Hebrew doesn't allow gutturals to take a Dagesh forte. So what will the short pathak do when I reject the Dagesh forte that would have gone here? Yeah, it compensatorily lengthens to a kametz. So it becomes va with a long A, but still an A, right? There's still no vocal shavah here because this is a WCI form. The vav will always have an A vowel under it. Va esh mor. Va esh mor. Okay, and I kept. So shamarti and va esh mor.
Do we need since it's a proper-tonic syllable, do we need the method? Or is it because it's compensatory like we don't?
Yeah, because there is no, there's no shavah here, so there's no reason to have a method to disambiguate it, right? You could, I suppose it's possible to see a method here since you, you have this in an open propertonic syllable, that there could be a method there to just ensure the full pronunciation of that and not let it reduce. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Are there any cases where the aleph would quiesce, like when we had nouns instead of
The aleph can quiesce, but in this situation right here, since the aleph has a vowel under it, the aleph is opening a syllable, right? The place I have aleph quiescing is when the aleph is trying to close a syllable. Aleph is a lousy closer, and that's when it quiesces. But when it's opening a syllable and has vowels under it, it won't quiesce. So, good question there. So yes, which one would you like? You want to do number 1? Yeah. Okay, so we have we broke. We broke. So what's the verb for breaking? It's not shamar, that's keeping the commandments. Breaking them? Similar. It's shavar, right? Shavar with a beit. Okay, so we know that the Cal Perfect 3MS has the long A, short A with no ending. So that's our basic form, right, for our paradigm. Pakad is the first one in our paradigm for the Cal Perfect of pakad. Pakad, pakada, pakadka. pakadta. So shavar, shavara, shavarta. Well, here it's we. We broke. So what's my perfect first common plural personal ending for we? Nu. Good. So noon, shurik, right? Is that nu a vocalic ending or a consonantal ending? What's that? It's consonantal, which means my stress is going to be where? It's going to be on root 2, the second syllable. Shavar nu, because it's not vocalic, so it doesn't pull the stress to the end. And what will I do? Will the resh continue to close the syllable here with bet? Shavar nu. Does the resh close the syllable, or is the resh opening a new syllable? It's still closing the syllable. And so what am I going to put under the resh to indicate that resh is still closing the syllable? A silent shava, exactly. So shavar nu. Shavar nu. So we broke. That's the first way to say it. Second way is to use a vayiktol or a WCI form. What's the prefix noon? What's the prefix going to be for we? Sorry. Well, believe it or not, it's a noon. Yes. So what goes under the noon? Kirik. Under the sheen? Silent shava. With the bet, does anything go under it? No, it goes over it, right? Nishvor or nishbor. Is there a dagesh lene in the bet? Yes, when I have a silent shava before it, there's no vowel sound. Dagesh lene goes inside begat consonants. So nishbor is actually the kal imperfect. We will break. But we want to make this we broke. So we're going to use the special vav, which has what under it? Pathak, and the noon has to have what inside it? A doubling dot, dagesh forte. So it's vanishbor. Vanishbor. We broke. WCIs are always past tense. Okay? Vanishbor. All right. So there you go. Let's take a look at the B section. Are there any of these in particular that you want to look at together?
Dr. Marshall. I was just going to ask a quick question.
Yes.
Not particularly related to either section, but it's more about like the concept.
Mm-hmm.
I had a difficult time like trying to understand what these were actually for.
Yeah.
And how they relate. It looks like the WCP forms are translated identically to the regular imperfect form.
Yes, that's right.
And vice versa with the WCIs are translated identically to the imperfect form.
That's right. That's right.
What's the difference?
Yes. So in terms of the translation value, there's not really much of a difference at all, right? But in Hebrew, the way Hebrew writers wrote Hebrew narrative, when they were stringing along chains of actions to further a storyline, they used the WCI forms as their main verb form. That was their default verb form for past time sequential actions in the past, in the past. And there's really not anything like this in other languages. It's unusual that way. So we don't really have a category for that in English. But Hebrew will frequently start a sequence of historical actions with a perfect, and then the continual actions that follow are in WCI form, until we have a break in the action, and then it switches back to the perfect for that time, and then reverts back to the WCI to go back to the narrative. Yeah. Our problem here is that since you don't know enough Hebrew to be able to read, sequences of 10, 15, 20 lines of text all at once, because it would take you forever to do it, you can't really see it very clearly. But in the translation exercises, there will be some places where you get 2, 3, or 4 clauses together, and you'll get to see how that narrative break can happen sometimes.
So does it stop not just at the end of the sentence, or like when would you go back to using the normal form?
Well, believe it or not, the WCI is the normal form for past time narrative action.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So the perfect sets you up so you know that this is in the past?
Yeah, it can be used in that way. Yep. Uh-huh.
Just kind of trying to understand also. So let's say you start the sentence with karat,
Mm-hmm.
because he said he cut, and then subsequent uses of that would be using the WCI form.
Yes.
Within that 4 clauses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. Exactly. And then if the writer wanted to say, oh, now, by the way, here's not what the next thing is that happened, but by the way, John was a baseball player, and you need to know that in order to process the discourse. John being a baseball player is not an action. It's not the next event that happened. It's background information, right? So what you're doing is you're stopping the narration of the event sequence to give background information, and that would signal a break. And what you would use is a vav plus the noun John, and then a perfect form of the verb to be to say John was such and such. And then if your next line goes back to, and now let me tell you what he did, and John hit it out of the ballpark, then that would be a WCI form. Yeah. It's very interesting and very different, and therefore very maddening to students. Yeah. Okay. Yvonne, let me do the one you had a question about, and then when we come back on Wednesday, you will have done the rest of the translation exercises, and we can do any of the other ones from B. So which one did you want to look at? Number 5. So it's I shall reign. I shall reign. So here, the first way that we've learned to do a future type of verb is just using an imperfect conjugation form. And the second is to use the perfect plus vav consecutive, or what I've labeled WCPs or v'katals. Okay? Now, so let's start with the imperfect. I shall reign is the verb what? Mem, lamed, kaf, right? MLK, remember Martin Luther King. And with I, it's which prefix consonant? Aleph. And what's the vowel pointing under it? Segol, good. And the silent Shavandra root 1. And what's my theme vowel for the Cal imperfect? The root 2 vowel. It's a holum. And the kaf gets a silent Shava inside of it. Final kafs get silent Shavas. Most final consonants don't get any Shavas, but final kaf always does, okay? So loch, that's I will reign. I don't need any special vav pointing, or otherwise that's going to be a WCI form, right? That's not what we want. We want just an imperfect in the future. I shall reign. Loch. And then the other way to do this is what? To use the perfect conjugation with the vav in front of it. So, ma, lach, what? For I. Malach T, with a Keurig yod here. Okay? But then what's going to go in front of Malach T? A vav. Okay? Now what's that vav going to look like? Will I put a vav with a regular vocal shava under it? No. It should have a regular vocal shava, because WCPs do not have a special pathak under the vav, and there's no doubling dot in the next consonant. I should do a normal vav, but what prevents me from doing the regular vocal shava under the vav here? Yeah. Mem is a bump consonant. Bet, mem, or pei with a vav in front, the vav has to become what? A shurik. Remember that? Vav is pointed as a shurik before bet, mem, and pei. So it's actually u malakti. U malakti. And I shall reign. U malakti. Okay? And if you put your accent on the T part instead of the la part, malakti, that would be okay as well, because sometimes you will see that accent on the final syllable in WCP forms. Okay? So there you go. We'll stop there for today, and we'll pick this back up next class.